Welcome to the 2011 RAF Waddington International Air Show, and what a show we've got for you. Coming up, we interview one of the last crew members from the Nimrod that retired at the end of June. We'll also be talking to those who fly on the E3D Sentry, and some of the highlights of the show have got to be an interview with the display pilot of the Vulcan and the Thunderbird display team from Las Vegas. Now, through the social media phenomenon of Twitter, I've been following at RAF BBMF for the last few days, and with me now is their PR officer, Yvonne Masters. Now, Yvonne, you're down here at RAF Waddington. What is the BBMF doing here?
Basically, this is our local show, if you like. We're here with our memorabilia trailer. We've got our Lancaster, Spitfire and Hurricane flying today. So we're going to be part of the main display, but also we're on the ground to a couple of reasons really. We're trying to interact with the local public, get them used to our faces, used to the crew, used to the team, and also promote our RAF display team's Coast to Coast Charity Cycle Challenge that we're doing. Right. We're joining the Red Arrows. We're being sponsored by Merida. These fabulous bikes stand behind us. And 10 crew from BBMF, 10 crew from the Red Arrows are actually going to cycle 100 miles a day, covering 400 miles in 4 days. The challenge certainly needs to be emphasised. I mean, I've just driven with one of the pilots who's going to be cycling the first part of the stretch, which is from St David's Head in Wales, straight through to Brecon, and hilly isn't a word. And actually, that's the sort of face he was pulling as I was driving the Land Rover up some of the hills, and she was hunting for the lowest gear. That's the face he was pulling, exactly. Yeah.
That's a pretty tough one, knowing that neck of the woods. And that's all been done, obviously, for a good cause, is it?
Definitely, yes. We're sponsoring, or supporting, if you like, RAFA, who are just behind us, for their Miles More Minutes campaign, which is basically to give the guys out in Afghanistan and Libya and all the different operational bases more time on the phone with their families. And also quite a small charity called Fly to Help, which sponsors terminally ill children and gives them the love of aviation, or the chance to get that trip of a lifetime, really.
Okay. Of course, the other big thing, one reason why I was attracted to come along, is you use Twitter, don't you?
Absolutely.
Why did you decide that this side of the face of the RAF then needed to be on Twitter? Okay,
I mean, to be honest, one of my main sort of aims this year, I mean, last year we had a phenomenal year, the anniversary of the Battle of Britain. It was superb, really engaging with the veterans. This year, what I wanted to try and do was engage with the younger community. Now, I know I'm not being ageist and saying Twitter is a thing for young people, but it's something, the sort of social networking is something that BBMF have never done. So we accessed the RAF main Facebook page. Maybe when we start looking at a Facebook page of our own next year. I can't do everything all in one go, as much as I'd love to. But Twitter seemed a really easy, super friendly way of engaging people.
But it's great, isn't it?
It is.
Because you can share things with people that might not necessarily live in this country.
Well, indeed, and it's an absolute insight. I mean, some of the pictures the guys take are phenomenal. You know, engine changes, you know, tyre changes, stuff that, frankly, we get a little bit complacent and think, well, okay, you know, it's an engine change. But, you know, I've learned from using our YouTube channel that people are fascinated. And it's also a quick snip, actually, this is happening now, come and have a look. And I can use it to direct people to our website, or to direct people to YouTube. It's just a super friendly way of using it. Yeah, we love it.
Brilliant. So there you go. You would get on Twitter and follow at RAF BBMF. Talking to Yvonne there about how they've been using Twitter from the Battle of Britain Memorial flight, and with me now is a fellow tweeter who has come all the way from Spain.
Yes.
Wow. So you actually have been chatting to them
Yes,
via Twitter?
Yes, a lot, because I come here every summer.
Right.
And I usually visit when I come the Memorial Flight and Coningsby and so on.
Yeah.
And well, when they started using Twitter, well, it was good to follow them and being able to know every day what they were doing and so on. So it has been great.
It is, isn't it? So what are you looking forward to seeing here at the air show?
Yeah, for me today is the Vulcan, because I have been looking a long time for seeing it, and it's going to be the first time I'm going to be able to see it. So it's really nice, and of course the rest. But obviously this is the start for me of the show. So.
There's something at Waddington which is known as the Vulcan effect, and it's the effect that this aircraft that I'm standing underneath seems to have on the public who come here, because many of them seem to come here just to watch this grand old lady fly. Now, as you can see up here on the bomb bay doors, there's a flying roll of honour, and it's the names of all the public who have generously pledged to keep this plane flying. Now behind me you can probably see the Vulcan, and I think it's what most people come to Waddington to actually see. And with me is the pilot of that plane, Kev Rumans. Now Kev, we're going to have to shout here because obviously we are at an air show.
That's right.
It gets a bit noisy. Now you're the pilot of this fantastic plane.
Yeah, one of five.
One of five.
Yeah.
So how long have you actually been involved?
I first flew this aircraft, 558, in 1987. I was a display pilot for 2 years then when I was in the RAF, and I've subsequently been flying now for 4 years since the aircraft was restored.
Okay, now what does she like to fly?
Difficult to answer that question. I mean, she's an aeroplane and she flies like lots of other aircraft.
Okay.
I mean, the general basics of flying aeroplanes are very similar. However, as you can see, the Vulcan is a big delta wing, big triangular wing, so because of that she has a few different handling characteristics. So we are able to fly this particular aircraft very slow, and because she's a large aircraft, it looks to the crowd like she shouldn't fly that slow. So the display,
fall out the sky.
yeah. So the display we fly is quite a majestic, slow display.
Okay.
But the aircraft is a joy to fly because of the controls and the big wing.
Now, we were talking before that people like the noise.
Yes.
So tell us about, because there's one particular element of your display that you do where you are noisy.
Yes, a little bit like this hawk.
Yes.
Yeah, no, every time we put full power on, we make a little bit of noise. So I make a little bit of noise every time I do a wing over. But we do a spiral climb, so we do a 360-degree turn at full power.
Right.
And actually, we've actually had a few, or more than a few, of the public say, couldn't you make some more noise? So this year we're trying to introduce doing that spiral climb, but going around, a second time round. So we'll climb a little bit higher and make a little bit more noise hopefully today, and hopefully that'll keep the Vulcan enthusiasts happy.
Let's hope it does. Thank you very much for talking to us.
No problem.
Now, earlier we spoke to the pilot of the Vulcan, but with me now is Michael Trotter, who's the Business Development Director of the Vulcan project. Now, Michael, this fantastic plane behind us, who Britain seems to have taken to their hearts,
Indeed.
Isn't cheap, shall we say, to run, is it? So what's your involvement?
My involvement is to, as my title implies, is to run the commercial side of the project. The followers of the project, I think, know that the aircraft takes £2 million a year to run. That's because she has a permit to fly from the CAA. She's treated like a civil airliner.
Okay.
So we have to maintain to very high standards. So, as I say, it costs £2 million a year to fly the aircraft.
And £2 million, I mean, that is a lot of money we're talking about each year. So how do you actually sort of like gather that together? What do you do?
We have several strands of fundraising. We have our own merchandise operation that you can see here in the Vulcan Village. We have sponsorship. We have 2 sponsors this year already to help us fly the aircraft.
Yeah.
But the major income stream is the general public's donations, standing orders, sending money in through the post when we appeal for it. Every time we appeal, the general public, the great British public, put their hands in their pockets. Yeah. So
this is it. You know, people out there, they all love this plane, don't they, when they see her fly. Every year, do you worry, you think, we've got to find this money? Do you ever have those moments where you think she might be grounded?
No, not every year. I have that worry every day.
Right,
I
okay.
check the cash on this project every day to make sure we're trading legally, to make sure we're paying our suppliers and creditors on time. And it's a constant worry for all of us, but it's also quite challenging and therefore quite exciting.
Okay. So if people want to help then, what can they do?
The best thing to do is to go to the Vulcan to the Sky website, that's vulcantothesky.org. You can set up a standing order, which is very useful to us. You can buy merchandise, you can donate to several of the plaques we put in the aircraft,
Okay.
and we'll be announcing a major promotion at the Royal International Air Tattoo as well, to start celebrating the Queen's Diamond Jubilee next year.
Okay, brilliant. Well, good luck. Fingers crossed she keeps flying.
Thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Down to the main static display line now, where I'm going to be talking to some of the many international and UK pilots who are here with their aircraft and find out a bit more about their role. The highlights of being at the air show, of course, is meeting the many international crews that come here with airplanes. And with me now, all the way from France, is the pilot of the plane behind us. What is it here that you've brought to Waddington?
We are very happy to come to Waddington first because it's a big air show. We'll see many aircraft, and there's many aircraft on the ground also. So it's very interesting for us. And we are the only aircraft from France, so we are proud of it.
Flying the French flag here today. Now, the plane that you've actually come in then is the Alpha Jet, isn't it?
Yes, it's the Alpha Jet, so it's an aircraft which is done for training. The aim is to train the young pilot to be fighter pilots, because they will be graduates at the end with they will be fighter pilots.
Now, it's your first time, you say, here at Waddington. Are you looking forward to any of the air displays?
The Red Arrows?
Why not when you come to England, the Red Arrows? What about the Thunderbirds?
Yes, also, yes.
And so that's going to be an interesting display, that one. Brilliant. So it's great. We've got nice British weather as well for you, haven't we?
We are lucky for this. And not so warm, so it's cool.
Brilliant. Thank you.
No problem.